Okay, so hi everyone. Thank you for joining in for the India Workplace Equality Index 2021 launch. And I am Maitri Shah. I'm one of the senior program managers with Pride Circle. We are very happy to have you all, and it's going to be a packed agenda today. We're going to be learning all about IWE, what's in store for you this year, why should you participate, and more. So, to start with, there's also going to be a surprise reveal, and we'll take more as it comes. So, IWE, or India Workplace Equality Index, was developed in partnership with Keshav Suri Foundation, Pride Circle, and Stonewall UK, and it was launched officially last year. And we have Vicky as our industry partner. So IB is essentially a definitive benchmarking tool for LGBT plus inclusion at the workplace in India, and it empowers organizations and uh, companies to navigate challenges of embedding LGBT plus inclusion and provides them a clear roadmap to follow. So we'll also be listening in from some of our top employers of last year. And so far, we had 65 registrations in the first year itself, of which 52 were top employers. There's also an opportunity to submit your survey questions or answers anonymously. And the representation was over 16 sectors. So we had companies across 16 industries participate in this survey in the first year itself. And now we're back for year two, and we're gearing up for it already. So, to discuss more, I would like to call upon Ramkrishna Sinha, the co-founder of Pride Circle, to talk more about why should you be participating in IB this year. Ram, over to you.
Hi, thanks a lot, Maitri. A very warm welcome, everyone. Hope you're doing well. And I'm just gonna keep it short and give you 10 reasons why IB makes sense. And let's get started. So, one is first, most important is we do all the hard work so you don't have to. If you have made a submission to IB, so you know it does take a bit of work to collate all that data and put it together. But we take the work of putting together the framework, the scoring scheme, the work around finally putting together the company score, sharing with you, bands, everything. So trust me, it's way more work we do than you do while you make a submission. And all of this is an effort so that we can really help companies assess how they're progressing in the space of LGBT plus inclusion, and also how they're doing compared to other organizations. So I would say this is a very important reason and you must already be bought in by this. But if not, I have 9 more to go. This is India's first ever and also only comprehensive definitive benchmarking index exclusively for LGBT plus inclusion. So it's very targeted, very focused, and looks at the aspect of LGBT plus inclusion in a very holistic way, from supplier diversity to policies and benefits, right? The complete A to Z around LGBT plus inclusion is covered in this, and there's also opportunity for additional work. It really helps you prioritize, especially for companies that did sign up for the curated, customized benchmarking report. We provide you with the next steps for 6 months, for a whole year. What should be the key areas of focus right now? So it really gives you a perspective on how do you really progress, what are the achievable goals, and how do you measure them. Submit from your desk. It's virtual worlds, any which way, but also IV is virtual, so it's very convenient to make a submission to it. Show people you care. I think taking part of the index is demonstration of the commitment of the organization to be an LGBT plus inclusive company. And we definitely encourage companies to not just have great policies in the work they do, but also share that externally, because speaking it loud makes it real. When you go out and talk about this to your larger community, it gives the message that as a company we are committed to it, we are happy to measure it, and we're happy to talk about it externally. So having great set of policies and ERG is amazing, but communicating about is also very important. Uh, the next reason would be uh, it is free of cost. Uh, it's a lot of hard work, but we still have managed to put it as free of cost for companies to participate. For the aspect of getting your score, getting your band, there is no cost. And we are in a data driven world. So this really helps you to get the buy in, because now as you participate year over year, it helps you track how you're progressing on this journey. And you have data to come back and say, hey, this is how we're doing in these regions, and this is how we're doing compared to other organizations. So this would be your easy business case to share with your leadership to get your buy-in. Make equality everyone's business, right? If you have made a submission to the index, you'll know that you can't do it alone. You will have to work with your legal team, your ERG, your HR, TA, anyone and everyone in your organization, because DNI and LGBT plus inclusion is not doing four things, right? Is doing the 100 things we do as an organization, right? So this is something which will enhance collaboration within the workplace, will drive accountability within the workplace, and all the different teams would be able to contribute to this while making the submission process. That becomes very evident. And nine is celebrate your achievement. IV is here to celebrate all the amazing work companies have been doing in the space of LGBT plus inclusion. So it's a great way of celebrating that, recognizing that. It's a holistic, comprehensive look from a external stakeholder perspective. It's a very definitive certification, I would say, of being a top employer, of bronze, silver, gold top employer at IV. It is kudos to all the work you're doing as an organization, and the tailored feedback and support. We are here to support you to do better and progress faster. So there is also opportunity to get customized feedback report, which looks at your per section score, how you're doing compared to gold employers, and what could be these next steps for you to go about it. So I hope all of you are convinced by now. Those are really 10 amazing reasons why companies must participate in India Workplace Equality Index 2021. Thank you. Do we have Keshav here? And okay, so there's your sneak peek. This is IV 2021 logo. We can all give a round of applause or whichever way, however you want to celebrate and call out this. This is the reveal of India Workplace Equality Index 2021 logo. Uh, the
Looks neat.
customized, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Ashish.
Looks very neat and very nice.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes. Yep. Next slide, please. With that, I have the honor of introducing Prachi Stogi, who is Diversity and Inclusion Leader APAC IBM. And we are also very, very delighted to have IBM being the headline sponsor for IB 2021. Thank you so much, IBM, and over to you, Prachi.
Thank you very much, Ram. And what a pleasure to be sharing space with you and talking about this significant cause and great work, Ram and Srini, the great work that you've been doing over the years with us and of course, with other organizations in this space is tremendous. Thank you very much for that. And I do want to say that IBM, with 110 years of DNI legacy, we hired our first African American woman in 1899. We had the equal pay policy in 1939, equal opportunity in 1953, and added sexual orientation to it in 1984. But we've not taken LGBT plus inclusion for granted, even for a second. We have all the policies, programs in place, a lot of trainings, both for the community members and the managers. But it's really important for us to be working closely with organizations like the Pride Circle, with Ram and Srini, with the great vision that they have of how IBM can learn more about being inclusive for the community, because there is so much more that we can do. We are always work in progress. And Workplace Equality Index in the Indian space is so very important to know how we are doing in our region. what more can we do to make this world, this workplace a little more inclusive so that people bring their whole selves to work and make a positive impact on the society. Very important for us to not just see it as a business imperative. I completely agreed. It is a business imperative, very important to be diverse and inclusive if we want to create innovative, creative solutions for the client. But it's really important to not take it only as a business imperative, but also as a human imperative. So along with being human, we see every reason to be competitive. And that's what Ram and Srini and this workplace equality index does for us. So thank you very much. We would like to participate. We are participating in the index to know where we stand and what we can do more. So really looking forward to it, Ram and Srini. Thank you very much, and back to you.
Thanks a lot, Prachi, and thanks a lot to IBM for the support. And IB is something we at Pride Circle are delighted to partner with Keshav Suri Foundation and Stonewall to bring this to India. Stonewall has been doing this for decades. They have over 15 years of experience with the UK Workplace Equality Index, and they also do a global Workplace Equality Index. And this is my great segue to introduce Vicky Hayden, who is head of global partnerships at Stonewall, to talk more about IB 2021. Vicky, over to you.
Thanks, Ram. Hi, everyone. My name is Vicky. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm really excited to talk you through some of the India Workplace Equality Index criteria. So there are a total of 9 criteria sections for the India Workplace Equality Index. If you did this last year, these will be familiar to you. We haven't significantly changed any of the questions. We've actually really just updated the guidance so that our support for you to answer those questions is much clearer. And if you have any other previous experience of participating in a Workplace Equality Index or Stonewall's Workplace Equality Index, again, some of these sections might feel quite familiar to you and for your organisation. But if they're not familiar, don't worry. There's absolutely no expectation that any organisation should be able to answer 100% of questions and score 100% of the points. In fact, that's never happened in 15 years of Stonewall's indexing, and not something that we saw last year for the India Workplace Equality Index either. Really, we just want organisations to be able to take their time to work through those sections where they feel like they have a story to contribute, and perhaps where they would like some of their key feedback to focus on. So I'll talk you through each of the 9 sections in a bit more detail. I think the first thing to say for any of these sections is that it's really important that you're doing 2 things when you answer the question. The first one is that you're sharing examples that are specific to the context that you work in India. So although I know lots of you are global organisations, when we're talking about things like policy or comms, perhaps, we need to see those distinct examples of how that is being utilised in your local context and how that's operating in India rather than from a global head office that might be elsewhere. So that's one really important thing to note. And the other thing is to really note where the question is asking you to submit evidence. This is an evidence-based indexing exercise, and we need to be able to see examples of your policy or the activities that your network group have been doing, or screenshots from your training. So please be sure when you're reading the questions and answering them that you are including the evidence where we've asked to see it, and the relevant evidence where we've asked to see it. So I'll talk you through each of the sections in a bit more detail. For those of you that have done this before, this will be more of a reminder, and for those of you that are new, hopefully this helps to kind of demystify some of the questions and criteria that are involved in the India Workplace Equality Index. So the first section of the index is policy. Policy is really the foundation of an organisation. It's the first opportunity for you to demonstrate and communicate your values as an organisation, and it enables you to hold the people that work in your business to account in terms of their behaviour and the way that they demonstrate those values. So we ask a series of questions all on your inclusion policy, or how you embed inclusion into your policy, to make sure that you have a really clear approach to anti-discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. We ask if you have started to develop or roll out policy provision relating to trans inclusion, like bathroom facilities, dress code, guidance, to make sure that they're not inherently gendered unnecessarily, and that you're sharing guidance with your colleagues on the most appropriate language for LGBT and trans inclusion specifically. We ask about whether you have been able to extend your healthcare provision for same-sex partners and trans people. We know that quite often that's a third-party provision, and we want to make sure that any benefits you're offering to your employees through your policies, that you are offering to all employees regardless of their sexual orientation and gender identity. And then finally, if you have those great policies and you've gone to the effort to make them truly inclusive, it's really important that people know about them and know how to use them. So we want to see examples of you communicating your key policy commitments to all of your colleagues in India. The second section looks at the employee life cycle, and this is really looking at start to finish, from how you attract diverse people into the organisation, support them through LGBT inclusive training, specifically aimed at leaders or people responsible for hiring teams, to make sure that there's no discrimination at that recruitment and development process. And then being able to really assess and enhance people's experience as they work in your organisation. So utilising things like your internal comms channels to celebrate things like Pride and particular days in the LGBT calendar is a really key part of the employee experience. So we ask to see lots of examples of that. And we also want to make sure that there are no barriers to LGBT people in your organisation in terms of career progression. So we ask questions around how you understand LGBT career development and how you tailor some of the opportunities you have to make sure that LGBT people are able to participate. So that really looks at start to finish, from attracting people, supporting them into the organisation, training them and managing their progress whilst they work with you, and making sure that sexual orientation and gender identity at no point becomes a barrier. So there's a series of questions there, and we do ask for some of the examples of the activities that I've just described. But we definitely don't expect you to be able to answer all of the questions, especially if you're in your first year. So please take it as a framework and as a guide, and share with us what you can. If we move on to sections 3 and 4, these look much more at individual employee actions and engagement and activity, rather than the kind of frameworks within an organisation. So we know that the LGBT employee resource group is a real key value add to an organisation, both for LGBT people that work in a business, so that they have a safe space to engage with colleagues that have similar experiences to them. But we know that employee resource groups also are able to feed back to the organisation about the lived experience of being LGBT and working there, and help push the organisation forward. So in this section, we ask about whether you have an LGBT group that has very clear objectives and goals in terms of why they exist and what they hope to achieve. We want to make sure that the employee resource group is able to support the business to develop and provide that advice and guidance on developing policy or business priorities, but also that that network or resource group is able to serve its members and provide activities and awareness raising events throughout the year, whether that be kind of social events, virtual events, or even collaborating with other diversity groups. And then section 4 looks at the roles and responsibilities of allies, so people that aren't LGBT but champion LGBT inclusion in the business, and the role of LGBT people who step up and share their experience as role models. So we ask a few questions in this section around ally initiatives. Lots of organisations have specific programmes to engage non-LGBT people in LGBT initiatives. But some organisations have like ally badges or activities that they ask allies to do to share their reasons about why they're an ally, and we'd love to see those examples here. We want to make sure also that LGBT people have the space and are encouraged to, where they feel able to share their story as a role model, particularly those in senior positions where there's often a perception that LGBT people can't reach those senior levels. So by showcasing that those people are there and they are existing and thriving within your organisation, we'd love to see as many examples of that in your submission if you have them this year. If we move then to sections 5 and 6. Section 5 looks at the role of senior leaders. We know through years of indexing that often it's the role of the senior leadership in championing LGBT inclusion that gives the permission to everybody else in the organisation to take some time out of their day to watch that webinar or to declare themselves as an ally or to be involved in LGBT activities or D&I initiatives somehow. So the responsibility of leaders in stepping up to be vocal and champion that is really important. We want to make sure that those leaders are supported to learn about LGBT inclusion initiatives. So if you've sent your senior leaders to conferences or they've done specific training, you can tell us about that here and you can share with us how you have educated those leaders to champion LGBT inclusion. But we'd also love to see them doing as much as possible. So being very visible at events and giving speeches about the importance of LGBT inclusion and being involved in D&I strategies and sharing internal communications about why this is important to the business is a really key part of that senior leadership and senior sponsorship roles. And it doesn't just have to be right at the top at the kind of CEO level. We're looking at management engagement too, senior management especially. Those people that have day-to-day contact with big groups of your staff are really responsible for shaping the environment and the culture of your workplace. So we want to see as many of those leaders being involved in this activity. And then section 4 looks at monitoring and data collection. We know that being able to understand the demographic of your workforce really helps you to see what some of the challenges might be for LGBT people and where you might need to adapt your diversity and inclusion initiatives to support diverse people to progress through the organisation or have a better experience. So we've chosen to look mostly at the self-identification model, as we know that that's probably the tool that most of you use to collect data on understanding the diversity within your organisation. We would love to see examples of organisations collecting gender data that's beyond the binary, so beyond male and female. And we'd also love to see how you're communicating the results of that data collection exercise. We know that often there's a level of mistrust for people in giving that data, but that can be really easily fixed if they can see what you're doing with the data and how it's being utilised to make a better organisation. So if we move into the next slide, section 7 looks at the role of your supply chain. Really that your suppliers If I could just ask everyone to be on mute, that would be brilliant. Thank you. And there'll be time for Q&A at the end of the session. So yeah, section 7 looks at the role of your supply chain. They're an extension of your business and they should be upholding your values, especially around anti-discrimination. So there's 3 steps here in this section. There's the pre-tender process. So what are you asking at that stage to understand whether those potential suppliers share your values and train their staff to the level that you would expect them to in relation to LGBT inclusion? How can you collaborate with those suppliers, do joint events or community fundraising activities together perhaps, or share your training? And to what extent are you focusing on engaging specifically with diverse suppliers? And is there an LGBT element to that programme? We'd love to know that through your index submission. Section 8 looks at your external community engagement. So up until now, a lot of the questions focus on what's happening within your organisation. Section 8 is much more external focused. We want to understand how you celebrate your LGBT commitment to your stakeholders through social media. how you engage and support LGBT community groups. And that doesn't just have to be financially. It might be by giving office space to LGBT community groups. It could be through volunteering, perhaps. But there's also lots of brilliant examples and opportunities for sectors or industries to collaborate on those community initiatives. And we would love to see those examples there through your submission. And then at section 9, if there is anything else that you've been able to do over the last few months or 2 years, then we would really encourage you to submit any additional work that you've done on improving the lives of LGBT people in your working environment. But that is a very small section. It's just an opportunity for you to share any additional information. We'll share the slides afterwards, so you'll have this deck with those notes. But for now, I will pass over to Nikki.
Thanks, Vicky. Hello, everyone. My name is Nikita, and my pronouns are she and her. I'm one of the senior program manager at Pride Circle. So I'll be talking about the participation and timelines for IWEI 2021. I'll keep it very brief because most of them is already been covered by Ram. So yeah, IWEI is annual, and well, the intent on making this a yearly exercise so that you can track your progress year on year and demonstrate this to your colleagues, customers, clients, and local communities. It is confidential, and there is an opportunity to be anonymous, marked securely, the results and the information not shared unless you choose to. Action planning framework, it helps you to understand the areas you are doing well in and the areas that need more focus or improvement. There is also a visible commitment to staff, which is if you choose to share your results internally, and we would encourage you to do that because that makes a real strong statement about how committed the organization is to equality, especially to LGBT colleagues or colleagues with LGBT family and friends. There is a feedback opportunity to develop an action-based plan through in-depth feedback session, which outlines the strength of your submission, as well as the areas of development, and also cite some industry best practices for you to take a look at and incorporate in the future. We time and here, keep hearing that the most valuable part of submitting is getting access to the feedback and understanding how the best practices is evolving in particular region or industry. And lastly, of course, the celebration, participating in the first ever index itself is a reason to celebrate, and your organization is already a step ahead, just by taking part of it. Next slide, please. Okay, I'll be just giving you a quick key facts. IWEI is open to all employers, irrespective of their size, industry, or where they stand in the LGBT plus inclusion journey. There is absolutely no cost involved to participate, and the scores will be shared individually to companies. There is also a customized feedback report, which comes at a small cost of INR 85,000, which you can subscribe post your submission. This report basically helps you to understand the section-wise breakup, and the scores also help you identify some of the gap analysis and plan the strategy for the future, along with an hour-long consultation with a team of experts from IWEI. Submission to IWEI is completely online, and the details of the same has already been shared. In case you don't have it or you missed it out, please reach out to the Pride Circle team offline. Also, IWEI do not capture employee feedback for first 2 editions, and it is on behalf of the companies, and the efforts are being led by HR, DNI, and the ERG leads from the company. Next slide, please. The timelines for IWEI 2021 looks like this. The submissions are already open. It was opened on 6th of May. And it's ongoing right now. All you need to do is go to the IWEI portal and register your company and start filling up the submission. One single access will be granted to the POC from the company, which you can disseminate to other relevant team members and can be accessed by multiple people at the same time. The submission will end by 15th of July, followed by your scores and band will be shared in phases, which will remain confidential to you. And lastly, the launch of IWEI 2021 and the award announcement is planned on 11th November. So please do block your calendar, and we look forward to having you all there. Thank you so much, and I hand it back to Vicky now to talk more about the sponsorship.
Thanks, Nikki. It's just a quick note from me about the additional opportunities that we have to sponsor IWEI. We are so excited to have IBM as our headline sponsor for the India Workplace Equality Index this year. And we do still have some outstanding spaces for associate sponsors to join us as well. Up until this point, the India Workplace Equality Index has been put together purely on volunteer hours from Pride Circle, the Keshav Seri Foundation and Stonewall. And in order to grow, we really need ongoing support from the organisations that we know are loving to participate. So if this would be of interest to you, I'll just briefly talk through what the associate sponsorship opportunities are. We are offering associate sponsors a small logo opportunity on the front page of the Top Employers Report. Last year, that Employers Report was distributed to all 65 organisations that took part, and also the additional 200 organisations, global organisations that Stonewall works with through its membership programme, as well as shared on all of our social media channels throughout the month of December. We are also offering a half-page advert in the Top Employers Report, and Akshay will cover a bit about adverts shortly. And we also want to thank you for your support on social media when the time comes for us to launch those results. In addition to that, we mentioned earlier that although it's free to participate, there is an additional cost to your benchmarking feedback meeting. For any associate sponsor, that would be offered at half price. And the total cost to become an associate sponsor is INR 402,000 or 4,000 Great British pounds, depending on where you're based. So if this is an opportunity that you think would be appealing to your organisation, please let us know and we will talk you through some of this in more detail. Actually, I'll pass over to you to talk about the opportunities to feature within the report.
Sure. So, namaskar everyone. Myself, Akshay Tyagi. I lead diversity, equity, and inclusion at the Lalesuri Hospitality Group and work at Keshav Seri Foundation. My pronouns are he, him, his. So, I'm going to discuss about the advertisement opportunities with you with respect to India Workplace Equality Index. So, can I have next slide, please? So with respect to advertisement space, we have visibility and branding, which is like in the report, you are going to have a special space for your organization to brand yourself, wherein you can advertise yourself for full page in 100,000 INR, and for half page, it will be 50,000 INR. And this will give you an opportunity to present your organization in the space of India Workplace Equality Index report, where you will be able to highlight some of the key initiatives if you wish to. Next slide, please. Additionally, this is to give you a quick review on our winners from 2020. You can see we have categorized our winners in 3 categories: Gold Award winners, Silver Award winners, and Bronze Award winners. To begin with, Bronze Award winners are companies who have started their journey to better LGBTQI+ inclusion by developing inclusive policies and initiating activities to promote LGBTQI inclusion. And you can see the organizations: Chrysler, Lilac Insights, PaySafe, VIP Industries Limited, Wells Fargo, Perixel, and these companies have started. Next to it, we have Silver Award winners. These are basically the organizations who had made significant achievements in the space of LGBTQI+ inclusion in workplace, demonstrating progress and impact over time. And you can see the name of companies in the box. Thereafter, we have Gold Award winners. These are the companies who have embedded LGBTQI+ inclusion in policies, hiring, and external communication by demonstrating a long-term impact and in-depth commitment towards the LGBTQI+ inclusion. And with this report, we aim to have more and more companies, because now that we have said we will be able to provide you feedback. So these organizations, the policies, the best practices are going to be shared with you all, so that you have a better understanding and we all can collectively pave our way towards LGBTQI+ inclusion. Now I request Mr. Ashish Jha, who is the Director Automation in Invesco, to please share his insight from last year on IWEI.
Hey, thanks, Akash. And thanks, Ram, for inviting me here. I mean, so the benefit of going last is that most of the hard work is already done. So you just have to sort of repeat on certain important parts of the business, right? So yeah, we took this survey. I don't want to call it survey. It's basically a toolkit, which helps you take a quick stock of where you are and how firm you are in your commitment towards LGBTQ inclusion at workplace. So yeah, it gave us good opportunity to introspect to see what we have done in last 1 year, where we are, and what more we want to do to make sure that we are truly inclusive and welcoming and respect, and creating a place which is more safe and respectful for all sort of diversity, right? So that was one of the great impacts that we could see. Also, when you take this survey or toolkit, you also get to work along with a lot of other departments, which generally works in silos. So they also understand the importance of the whole initiative agenda for the organization. So you see better participation going forward in other initiatives that you run through the year. So that becomes a learning and awareness exercise in itself. And then people learn. And the best part is it actually shows commitment back to the community itself. When people see that you are participating in such toolkits and surveys, they know that you are truly committed, and it's not just a talk. You are really invested in making the change, and you're taking all effort. Now, when you are awarded a certain category, bronze, silver, or whatever it is, it goes to show that how long have you been in this journey and what all you have done and what else you need to do to actually go to next level. I mean, that also brings a bit of competitive spirit, which is good for the initiative itself, is what I feel, because it makes you do things that you would have missed or been a little blinded about. I would have not noticed. So I think if I have to sum it all, it's a great experience. What's been useful to us, wherever we had doubt, Pride Circle was always there to help us provide right details. There are certain elements of your organization artifacts which will be confidential. So you might want to have a quick chat with Pride Circle Spock to understand what part can be provided, what cannot be provided, and what are your limitations around sharing certain internal artifacts which are restricted. So yeah, I would suggest all of you to give it a serious thought and enjoy submitting this survey. I will actually give you a rear mirror view to your entire year's planning execution that you have done within this space, and it creates a beautiful collage of activities, growth, and little stories that come across and you get to see in front of you. So with that, I'll take a quick pause because most of the things are already being discussed. If there's any specific question, I can take that. So yeah, that's from me, Akshay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashish, for that insights and experience sharing. We look forward to having you this year as well. With that, I would like to introduce Uma, Vicky, Senior Director and Head Corporate Social Responsibility from the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Over to you, Uma. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, and congratulations to KSF, Stonewall, and Pride Circle for really bringing this index here and putting it together. And Vicky is really happy to be associated as an industry partner. Vicky, as all of you know, is an ally for inclusion, especially LGBTQ inclusion. And we have a task force which is mentored by our past president, Dr. Jyotsna Suri, and Keshevji and Ms. Radhika Piramal are the co-chairs. And of course, advocacy is a strong point for Vicky, and we strongly, advocate through our webinars and other advocacy platforms for the cause of LGBTQ inclusion. And Vicky, of course, is an ally. And I think what is very important when I say we are an ally is really for inclusion, you need internal allies as well as external allies. And being the voice of Indian industry, reaching out to as many companies and industries as possible to be more LGBTQ plus inclusive. We've also, under the task force, apart from advocacy, done a certification program for D&I professionals, and we do this twice a year. The whole idea is that you need to build allies internally, and more and more people within the companies who can take up the cause and be more inclusive in a structured way. So the IWEI really, I feel, comes very handy as a tool, because a lot of companies come and say that, we want to be inclusive, but we don't know how. So it's very good that there is a ready-made tool available for all, and like Ram shared, that it's free of cost to just find out where you are in your path of inclusion, and three bands are there. You can figure that out, and year on year, as you participate in the IWEI index, you also know how you've improved, where you are, and what is the scope for improvement for next year. So it really also draws up a plan for you for the next coming year, that these are the steps that we need to take in our journey to be more inclusive. So it really gives you a tool in your hand and gives you a path. And of course, the whole team of the IWEI who walks the path with you and handholds and step by step, really help everybody. And I think the distinction that we really feel is a lot of companies, who probably may not have global policies or don't have a, really inclusive policy, they can, and even if you're not a, silver or a bronze or a, if even if you're the lowest, band, or you're not even there, I think it's really important to see that, I want to start this journey and let me begin. And there's a toolkit here. So with that, I'll stop. And Vicky, of course, really supports this whole cause, and we're there. So congratulations once again, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Uma. So now with that, we are open for the questions. So you can type in the chat box, or probably you can unmute yourself and, ask a question. Feel free to ask.
Hi, this is Sophia here from VMware.
Sophia, go ahead.
Hi, Ram. Thank you so much. And it's absolutely a pride and pleasure to be at IWEI again. This is our second year, having done our silver the last year. I remember we had a session last year where I had asked this question, but I thought I'll just connect back as we connected also from this post-COVID, or I would say not really post, we have not yet passed it. But what happened is, because we all were so much online, everything was so much virtual, there has been a lot of connect on the global front as well. So it's not just that India came together for the community. There's a lot being done on the global front as well. So as you rightly said last time, I just want to reiterate, we can add those initiatives as well, right? Where the global and India together took up activities and initiatives, and we had participants from both the sides, considering the time zones and the geography for certain initiatives towards the Pride community. Is that what we can also add in this year's IWEI?
Yes and no. Yes to the part, like, obviously, I mean, we all live in a virtual world today, so there are a lot of shared programs that you're working across geography with various partners, right? Different regions, which is fantastic. We definitely believe in cross ERG collaboration, cross geography collaboration. It's just that when you make a submission to IB, so IB explicitly looks at India Workplace Equality Index, so only India access. So, and I'm just using your question to answer a larger question here, so please bear with me for that. So when it comes to policies, benefits, programs, ERGs, anything and everything, or even social media outreach like celebrating Ida Hobbit or any of that day, while the global team is doing, is it reaching the India team? That's your first question. Is it impacting India team? So if you have a global policy, but if it is not available in India, then that is not applicable. If you have senior leaders who are champions and visible vocal champions, but if they're not based in India, they're not the Indian leadership, then it's not applicable, right? If you are celebrating Pride on your platforms, but it is coming from headquarters only, the India handles are not talking about it, not mentioning it, then it is not applicable. So effectively look at it as an isolated India entity and what is being available. Now that said, we don't disconnect everything that's happens from the global entities as well. Like if you have a program which is virtual any which way and multiple countries are participating, putting together, then just ensure that there's evidence which says that it was available to employees in India and there was a certain participation, and hence it will become applicable. Does that help?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, it went the other way around, where India initiated all the activities, most of them, and they are now cascaded out, which we just did today in the Pride Month. We just scaled an activity called Tiny Tales, which is a beautiful concept where you look at a picture and you write a story or a poem or bring together words to describe that picture, and we just scaled it out to the entire world. So it's not just India who will be doing this activity. We'll be having people writing about these stories all across the globe. So it's definitely India participation. But I got your point. Yes, I got the concept.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And happy Pride Month, everyone, if you haven't already said that.
Happy Pride Month.
So the question, yeah, it is free of cost. How does this help employers who are taking the first step towards diversity and inclusion? So I think it is very relevant to employers who are taking the first step because it provides you framework right up front. Like, hey, these are the various areas in which we can do this kinds of work for LGBT plus inclusion. So it will actually help you put your thoughts into actual plan based on the framework and which you can measure year over year. So IWEI will provide you that guidance and you can measure it with score. So obviously there may be a lot of sections and questions where you feel like you have done nothing. Don't worry about it. Like Vicky also mentioned, it is not about getting the 100 score. None of the organization get the perfect 100. There are questions which are aspirational. There are questions which is about something which is a common practice. So it will definitely help companies to understand what they have done in the last 2 years and provide a framework for how to go forward. And if you're looking at for a customized report, it'll also help you put together a plan of action for the next year or so.
Hey Ram, this is Satya from John Deere India. I have a quick question on collaboration opportunities in terms of, I know the report will specifically be curated towards the organization who is participating. How about, and because there is a amazing group of organizations participating in here, what's the opportunity to learn across, probably in terms of what everybody is doing for LGBTQ plus inclusion?
So we do feature the best practices from different organizations for each section. So that is a great way to learn what is the best practice from the participating companies. Then the other format of learning would be through the launch event where we invite companies to come and talk about their best practices, right? And then there are webinars where different companies will come and talk about their work they're doing.
That sounds exciting. And this is John Deere India's first year participating IWEI. We are excited. I have one more question, and I'll pause for others. So from a IWEI word standpoint, we say equality and not equity. Do we have a thought behind that we specifically say equality and not equity?
Not really, because it's about it stems from equal opportunity employment. That's the genesis of the word, and we absolutely believe in equity part of it. So this is interchangeable in this context. It's about providing equal opportunity for LGBT plus employees in all aspects of not just having a seat at the workplace, but also having a career opportunity to actually grow and bloom to the full potential and be fully productive. So everything around that.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Vicky, you want to add something to that? I'm putting a spot on you.
No, that's fine. I think some of the questions touch upon both. So I guess the policy, looking at kind of extending benefits to partners is a good example of where we're looking for equality. We're making sure that everyone is entitled perhaps at like career development. And we're asking about how you tailor some of your career development opportunities to better meet the needs of LGBT people in your organization, which is more of an example of equity. So the questions touch upon both.
Makes sense. Thank you, Vicky.
Kinjal and Nita have raised their hands. So would you like to go next?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for extending this invite to us. Happy Pride to everyone. Thank you for the presentation. I thought it was very insightful. I'm going to ask a very genuine question because I have just taken on the mantle of leading diversity and inclusion at CIPLA. And we're a large pharmaceutical company in India and abroad. We're a multinational company, rather. We've made some huge announcements on extending insurance cover to same-sex partners and live-in partners in India. And we're doing a lot of work when it comes to gender diversity right now, because that's something very important to us to build. So if you were to ask me if we can participate in this survey, I would say we're scratching the surface and we have miles to go before we can make it to any of these recognitions. So, but what we're really looking forward to is guidance. And I found everything that you suggested in this presentation super helpful. And it's in the right direction, of course. So how can a company like us work with you? Like, I'm not sure whether we would like to participate because we've not done enough. We've not done much, but we want to. The heart is in the right place. We just need guidance. I don't know if that's a question or if that helps.
Yeah, I mean, no, thanks for sharing that. And I think kudos on the announcement of same-sex partner insurance coverage at CIPLA. And you say you are taking baby steps. That's a great leap, I would say, because it takes work to get those policies out and then communicate it publicly. That's the second piece of it. So I would not say that you're like very nascent stage. I mean, obviously as an organization, there's so much more that you can do and every one of us can do. But I would still recommend participation because it will help you assess how you're doing. And sometimes you may give yourself less credit than you actually deserve. And I feel that's the case here. So take a look and for guidance, we are absolutely happy to help whichever way. We do provide consultation and a bunch of more work from hiring, recruitment to skill building programs for this talent pool to everything under the sun around LGBT plus through Pride Circle. So we'd be happy to assist you there.
Perfect. Also, it may not be a very relevant question right now, Ram, but I'll ask it anyway. I believe there is an ally campaign that's being run currently.
There is an ally challenge that Pride Circle is running. It's a global gamification of allyship, and we'll share those details with you. It's basically from 21st of June.
Right. So I did get some information from LinkedIn. I think we found it from Srini. I think he'd written about it, etc. So my team member got in touch, etc. But I wanted to understand if we are at this stage of our journey where we've not taken the survey, we don't know where we are at, whether there's enough awareness even in our own people about the measures we need to take and the path we need to take. Would signing up for an ally campaign be smart at this point, or we shouldn't, or we should do the survey first? And I don't know, I'm kind of confused.
So again, Ally Challenge it's a fun way of introducing the concept of allyship for everyone. It's not a competition, it's not a certification of anything. And let it do an easy rollout so that employees have access to information and they can play around and see how it works out for them. So it would definitely provide them many more resources. And as you participate in that, also you'll get more insights on how to go about it and helps you look at aspects about gender identity, allyship, laws, history, all of that. So it'd be a great way of building that engagement within the company, if definitely not the larger team, at least for the D&I team to be more aware.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Someone else had a raised hand.
I think it was Kindle, but I'm not sure if that was accidental or
okay. Sure.
yeah, question.
So the question from Joanna is, can someone help me with same-sex partner insurance, etc.? Yes, I have had some questions from my legal about it. It will help if we can get some material about it. Um,
Hi, Joanna here from AV Bev. So I just thought I'll explain it. So we've done the introduction this year where we've added a new DNI coverage, which is like your reassignment surgery, which we have launched for employees and extended to their families as well. However, when we had also requested the insurance company for the same-sex partners insurance coverage, we had a pushback from our legal asking us certain things on how much is legally allowed in India and how much has been legalized and things like that. So we parked the same-sex insurance thing for now and we took the surgery coverage. So just want to know if there is a particular team or someone who can help with that, because then it gives us more material to go back to the legal team, for the kind of questions they had about it.
So happy for any organization on this call to take it up and add their perspective. In that meantime, I'll just quickly add from a legal perspective, it's allowed in India. Providing same-sex partner insurance coverage is absolutely fair within the ambit of law. Same-sex marriage is not recognized in India. So companies adopt multiple methods of providing the same support to spouses of same-sex couples, which is not recognized because of marriage is not recognized. But companies can offer that, and multiple companies do offer that.
Manu, this is Satya. From a John Deere India perspective, I think it was more a kudos of the insurance company we work with. So they do allow same-sex partner insurance registration. So I think it might depend on the experience of the vendor as well you work with. Like Ram rightly said, marriage is not recognized, but from a partner standpoint, I think they do manage the finances and the clauses by keeping it something like locked in for 3 years, even though you don't have a document, but you just go on the person's willingness to register somebody as a partner, because there is no legal documentation we'll find. So I think it's in that area, in terms of protecting it rightly from an insurance company's risk perspective versus balancing it with same-sex partner registration. But happy to share more if you're willing to connect.
So Harsha from Microsoft is also happy to connect you with their benefits team. So you can pick that on.
Sure, thanks. So actually they did offer it, but I think we kind of still have registration as for spouse. So that's where it came that you need to maybe change your spouse word to partner, and then you can include it as part of the insurance package. So since we were not very clear and we had to close the insurance, we took the surgery assignment option there. But yeah, I'm sure I'll maybe connect with somebody to see how we could include it in the next cycle.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. So Harsha from Microsoft is also happy to connect you with their benefits team, if that helps. All right. So about the consultation report, yes, Bhuvan, the report comes with an hour-long consultation, which basically looks at the organization's score per section compared to the goals average, and also helps find best practices per section and recommend the organization what could be the next steps based on their objectives for the next year. All right, last minute, any more questions, thoughts, opinions? Did we miss any question? I'm just quickly glancing through if we missed a question. Participation in the survey is at no cost. There's no cost to the organization, and organizations can participate anonymously as well. So if you feel if you're not ready or I'm not sure of your band you'll land in, and you're not definitely don't want it to be public, you have an opportunity to participate anonymously. And once you have your score and band communicated to you, you can move to an open participation. So we definitely provide that flexibility. Like we said, IWEI is about celebrating companies for the work they have done for LGBT plus inclusion, and you have a lot of control on whether you want it to be public information, your participation or not.
Hi, Ram. Miriam this side. Just to reconfirm, we do have an option to, at a later point of time, opt to go public, even though we've signed up anonymously.
Absolutely.
Correct?
So once you have your score available to us and the band, you may choose to become public.
Understood. Thank you.
And there was a question on timeline. So the last day for making that submission is 15th of July. So you have a good more than a month to make that submission.
Sorry, one quick question. My name is Ritu. I'm from NextGen Healthcare India. So let's say, I was reading about one of the best practices, like supporting the members of the LGBTQ plus community by providing them skill development and technical trainings. So is there any organization that, we could tie up with, because, to reach the target audience who we can, provide the support and the coaching and the mentoring that they require?
Absolutely. So there are multiple organizations in India that do that. We at Pride Circle also do that through our Road to Rise program and through CSR also with the Pride Circle Foundation. We do skill building for trans people. Similarly, there are other organizations also. We'd be happy to connect you based on your objectives.
That's great. Thank you.
Welcome. Any more questions?
There's one, if the report is going to be shared with everyone.
So there will be a public IWEI 2021 report, much like the IWEI 2020 report, which is available for download for free on the workplace equality index.in. That is a public report that is available for download. Similarly, there will be a public report available for IWEI 2021 as well, which basically captures key insights, industries represented, number of companies, the bans, and all of that, and best practices from various companies. Let's commit to measuring this Pride Month, that while we do great work around LGBT plus inclusion, we also measure it and build more accountability towards it. With that, I would like to say thank you everyone for joining in and taking time out to be with us. Any last comments, thoughts, opinions from anyone on this call? Right. Thank you very much for joining in. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.